What is the number of spam applications?
It's crucial that we really spot the cover letters and CVs that are generated from AI. Using AI is good.
Oh no, this is a red flag. We have Reena today. She's a recruiter working in Finland, and she has more than 8 years of experience hiring people. And right now she's focusing in tech recruitment. Reena, welcome. Would you like to share a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Hi, Lydia, and thank you for inviting me for this, session. It's my pleasure and really look forward to our discussion today. So thank you for introducing about me. A little bit to add on there. I live here in Finland since close to 7 years now, and I work as a recruitment consultant with R&R Talent Advisors. We are a staffing and consulting firm, and in my current role, I deal with a lot of CVs. I handle multiple clients at the same time. So mainly my role is focused into sourcing, screening CVs, and doing initial interviews, and then candidate and client engagement. So I'm really happy to be here and share, my experience and little bit insights from the industry here.
If we talk about the percentage of hiring natives and foreigners in your current role, what would it be?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I think it is somewhere around 60-40, I would say. So natives is it's little more leaning on the native side. So hiring locals and native people is like around 60%, I would say, and around 40% is still like, we have people from different background and different you know background and origin that we actually interview and we talk. So yeah, I would say it is like, around 60 to 40% as of now.
Percent is still a lot. That's I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, definitely.
To start with questions, maybe the most important one, and it's not so easy, I think, to answer, but I will ask it anyways. How do you review CVs? What are you paying attention to?
Yeah, that's a very tricky but important question. And yeah, so basically we pay a lot of attention. I mean, I being a tech recruiter at the moment, I focus on a lot of technical roles. So if I have to split and say that on the technical roles, it's a bit easier and little more straightforward, because we have a lot of we match the profiles to the kind of requirements or of the client or the role that we have, and it's more clear when there are certain tech stacks. So we definitely look for like matching and relevant experience, skills, matching tech stacks, what they have worked on, and definitely location, where the person is currently located. A bit of, also we do a little bit of background on kind of interesting companies that they have, that the candidate has worked for, or what are specific companies or industries that is very interesting for the client per se. And then based on that, we also kind of review those areas. And definitely like educational background plays also important role, and LinkedIn profile, because we do a lot of sourcing. I mean, in my present role, our sourcing happens heavily from LinkedIn. So how well updated LinkedIn profile is very important for us, because that's the main source of profile generation. So LinkedIn best updated LinkedIn profiles get more attention versus the profiles that are not really well updated. So LinkedIn profile is something that is very important. And also all the relevant links, like somebody being in a technical role, I'm sure they have their projects in or the areas that they have worked in. They would have updated those details in places like GitHub repositories or Slack, Stack Overstack, so these areas. So we also like try to check if they have some projects listed in these sections. And uh, also sometimes like we do check what recommendations do they have on LinkedIn and from whom, and have they like further worked with them to see how genuine or how real it is. So these are certain areas that we kind of look into. And if I have to say non-technical profiles, then we review a little more, spend a little more time and review areas like relevant experience and responsibilities, skills and competencies, key achievements. Also, again, then interesting companies that the candidate has worked for, education, and continued by LinkedIn profile. Recommendations on LinkedIn's also become very important. I mean, for the non-technical roles, more I would say. So, and in general, certain things that we see overall in a CV is like how well the CV is formatted, how easy it is to read, how clearly it is, written, and if there are any kind of typos or grammatical errors, how visually appealing it is, like it is not too cluttered and things like that. And how well the history of their work summary is detailed. So
If there are
yeah.
some grammar mistakes in a CV or
Hmm.
typos, would it be
Hmm.
a red flag?
Well, it depends. If it is just one or two, maybe that wouldn't catch our attention sometime, to tell the truth, because we spend very little time on every CV and we have to go through so many details. So if it is just one or two, but then CV is really striking in all other areas, like it has excellent company background, excellent education, excellent and perfectly matching skills and tech stacks and competencies, then it wouldn't matter. But if it is, again, if even though everything is matching, but if it is not well formatted, and then if there are too many typos and too many mistakes, then that's a red flag, I would say.
How long do you usually spend on this initial screening before diving deep into one CV?
uh, Somewhere around uh, maximum 40 seconds, I would say. 40
40
50
seconds.
seconds, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's a good thing to know because I've discussed this question with many recruiters, and we
Hmm.
all come up to the same decision that if there are 200 applications and if it's almost 1 minute, it makes it 200 minutes
Yes,
for
yes.
one role, which is a lot, and applicants might not think about that when they apply because they
Yeah,
spend hours crafting a CV. So they need
exactly.
to know these points as well. You
Yeah.
have mentioned LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So do you always check LinkedIn profiles of people?
In my current role, yes. As I said, we heavily depend on LinkedIn and we source profiles through LinkedIn. So
Mm.
LinkedIn plays a very, very important role for us, and we check all the profiles or source all the profiles mainly through LinkedIn. But in general, if somebody is, as an in-house recruiter, uh, it becomes different because in their role they get a lot of applications for their job posted. And I would say I have been in that point as well. I have played in-house roles previously in my career. So we do see, or I do see LinkedIn profile. If the CV is good, if the cover letter is impressive, then the third step is we go to LinkedIn profile. So in any case, LinkedIn profile is important, I would say.
If there are two LinkedIn profiles in front of you, and one is in your understanding well filled and updated, and the other one needs to be updated, what are the places that an applicant must pay attention to?
Um, Current role, I mean, at least, sharing or mentioning some kind of responsibilities in every company that they have worked. And also it becomes crucial if somebody is actively looking for, job, and their current role should have their responsibilities mentioned. Skills, there is area where they can choose their skills, relevant skills that they have for each role. So skills becomes important. And yeah, their certifications, if they have done whatever certifications they have done, so that is something that can be updated. A well written summary in the beginning, I would say, is good.
Right. You've mentioned recommendations, and I thought they are so outdated and no one reads them ever. But you said you do. And I also had a survey some time ago on my LinkedIn asking if hiring managers and recruiters actually check recommendation received by a person. And they said maybe 50% do. And it was a shocking number for me. So you said it is important for you as well, right?
Yes. Yes. So, why it is important, especially, in current scenario, we are living in a virtual world. So, my understanding is when we do everything online, we really, LinkedIn is something that we are taking, as a consideration, as a genuine profile about somebody, right? So it becomes really crucial to see what all details they have mentioned, and recommendation plays a very important part in our way of sourcing. I mean, in my current team, in my current company, we all definitely look into recommendations to some extent, if not always, because, and also it becomes very important when we look for candidates out of Finland or in some other country within Europe. And then if the company is not very known, or if the company is really small, or the list of companies that that person has worked in, how do we figure out the genuinity of the companies, right? So this is one way of checking that if they have certain recommendations, then we follow back to the person who has recommended, and then we see like what is the connection that they have. So we dig little deeper through that, and then kind of figure out that yes, this profile could be genuine. So that's like one step further to ensure that the profile is genuine, and then profile looks good, and then yes, we can spend another 30 or 40 minutes with this candidate to screen that person.
Amazing. I never thought about it in that sense that some people might just mention companies that don't exist. It never even
Yes.
came to my mind that such a thing exists. But now,
Yes, so especially in today's world, I mean, post-COVID, everybody works virtually, everything is virtual. So even though we say life is easier, it can also be challenging. And recruitment is one such area where we feel it could be challenging sometimes to really find out, or really assess how genuine the person is, or how genuine, the companies that they have worked for, and things like that. So this is one step further that we do in the initial screening to be sure that okay, this can be a genuine profile, especially if there are certain doubts in the beginning. I mean, if the profile is not very updated, then the further we dig into the kind of certifications, or then recommendations. So these are different ways to see how we can really have the person, or can we really speak to the person or not. So then these things becomes our deciding factor as well.
wonderful, thank you. I often hear from applicants that they applied to 100 jobs in Finland and they
Mhm.
didn't have a single interview invitation. So the question would be how to make a company curious to invite you to an interview.
Yeah, another good question, Lydia. But I think first thing is, especially if I have to speak from an international expat uh, point of view, I being a foreigner here myself, I understand the pain point here that people get so many rejections. But there are too many underlining reasons, I would say, now being in the same shoes. I'm working as a recruiter, so I see the pain points of the company who's hiring as well. So my understanding is, first and foremost thing is, like, there is a lot of cultural differences which kind of creates a certain gap in understanding, when an foreigner comes in, and then if he or she is applying for certain roles, so there is always a kind of gap in how they are approaching or how their overall how they present themselves in the CV or the cover letter. So addressing that area is first and most important thing, I would say. So, and from there on, I also see like, suppose if I am looking for a job, and after certain time or certain period of time, people get desperate, right? Or there is so limited opportunities here that people try to apply for almost everything. Even if there is a small match, people think that, okay, I might have a chance here. So that, I would say, is not a great idea or great thing to do. So applying for the most relevant and matching roles is one of the important thing that we should keep in mind. um, I'm sure I understand the kind of urge to apply to all the roles, thinking that, okay, I am a learning and development person, but somewhere I have done certain coordination and stakeholders management. I could also be doing a recruiter's role in so and so company. So why should not I apply? We all have this kind of urge. Of course, everybody has certain transferable skills, but it's also important that you apply to the most relevant and matching roles. That increases your chances to getting interviewed, because we get a lot of applications, tons of applications that are not matching.
In percentage-wise, how do you think, what is the number of, let's call it spam applications?
um, I would say it's around 50%.
Wow,
So
that's
it's always 50-50%. That another key thing is, we get a lot of applications outside the location, primary location for
Mm.
which that we are hiring. So the another thing that we candidates need to understand is, no matter how best you match to the role, if the role is for Finland or if the role is for Helsinki, it's an on-site role. Somebody applying from, say, Oulu or Jyväskylä, we would automatically, not shortlist that person because of the location, irrespective of their matching, because we want somebody here in Helsinki. Similarly, the role is in Finland, but people apply across Europe. It's not a possibility that that person would be relocated to Finland. So then definitely we would not spend any time in kind of going through that profile, because the profile comes from a different location. So there itself, like, we cut down another 20-30% of profiles.
Imagine I live in Oulu, but I'm
Mhm.
looking for a job in Uusimaa. And do you think I should include Helsinki or Espoo or Vantaa in my CV instead of Oulu, even though I live there?
Well, no, I think you should mention where you live, but you should also see what kind of role that you're applying, and are you flexible to travel to, say, Helsinki or Uusimaa in need basis, at least. Because of course not all companies are working like fully on site. It's more like a hybrid model currently, or even some companies still work fully remote. So if it is a fully remote role, it doesn't matter where you're applying from. Within Finland, again, if the company is based in Finland and if they want somebody from Finland, then within Finland it doesn't matter where you live or where you work from. But if it is a hybrid role, you need to first understand, are you flexible to come to Usima or travel to Usima as and when it is needed, and then mentioning that somewhere, or highlighting that you are flexible in traveling, even though you notice that it's a hybrid role and you're flexible to travel, um, can gain, or can catch attention from the recruiters or the hiring managers.
So should it be in a CV? My current
CV or
location.
cover letter, or you know even in the LinkedIn, I noticed that many people nowadays mention in the summary that, they are flexible, they're open to traveling as a need basis. So then, when people see that, okay, this person is flexible to travel or flexible to, come to office as and when it is required. So it's worth mentioning there, I would say.
Right. If someone is watching this from abroad and Finland is considered to be the happiest country in the world, and there are many people who would like to move to Finland, and they're watching this and they're feeling frustrated, why don't you consider someone who fits the role from abroad? What would you answer to people like that?
It's difficult because, it's very crucial. Is the role really does the role really require to have people from abroad? Because hiring is not only the, I mean, hiring somebody from abroad is not as easy as said and done, because it involves a lot of further procedures, like, having that person worked on their residence permit, on their visa, and on the travel, relocation, and so many added things further. So there is a lot of things to take care of after the recruitment or after giving the person an offer letter. And most of the companies are still not in a situation or ready to, bear that extra. It leads to extra cost, to have all these additional steps and procedures further to that. So are the companies ready to, spend that extra cost for every hiring? I don't think we are in a situation. So in such situation, it becomes really crucial that, companies really stick to people within Finland, or then, they look for people who are in Europe, because people within Europe can still easily relocate or work from Europe without much additional cost, as to somebody hiring from, say, some country from Asia, which involves a lot of more and more further steps to, in terms of relocating them. So it's challenging, and it's always not so easy. Being a candidate, we don't think in these areas, so it's kind of frustrating. I understand the frustration, but also there is this kind of point of view from the company's side that also needs to be kept in mind.
I understand. Thank you. It was a wonderful answer. You've mentioned cover letters before. Do you even read them?
uh yeah, I mean, I mean, in my current role, cover letter does not play a lot of importance, because, as I said, um, I work in a staffing and consulting firm. So we do sourcing from our side. We reach out the candidates from our side. So we heavily depend on LinkedIn profiles, and then we reach them out and we ask them for their updated CV, and then we continue from there. So in my current role, cover letter does not play much importance, but I think the other way around, when it is an in-house role, and if I'm a recruiter there, we get tons of application in turn, and then there it becomes crucial to actually see the CV and also the cover letter to understand the motivation level of the candidate, how interested are they in the company, and things like that. So definitely, if I'm in an in-house recruiter position, CV kind of plays an important role. CV and cover letter plays an important role, actually, and we do spend at least some time on reading the cover letter and understand the candidate's motivation and interest towards the company.
Can you distinguish a cover letter or a CV that's written by AI?
Mm, it's a tricky question, but interesting one. Um, well, AI is definitely a game changer, and it is here to, it is here as an enablement tool for everybody, meaning it can be a tool that can help you to kind of do your work more efficiently, more quickly, and in less given time. But when it comes to CV and cover letter, it's crucial that we really spot the cover letters and CVs that are generated from AI or really created completely by AI. So my thought here is like using AI is good, but how much are we using it for is crucial, because if the CV or the cover letter is generated with say bad prompt on AI, it can give really generic cover letter, which is like very easily spotted. It can be easily spotted, and then it's a complete no-no, I would say. So how do we differentiate, cover letters that are generated from AI, like seeking certain patterns in vocabularies? There are certain structures, um, that AI generates in, in the form. So it's very easily noticeable. So like you would have noticed, like AI kind of generates very sophisticated vocabularies every now and then, right? Like as a human, we would use more common words, versus AI gives you very uncommon and really sophisticated words, which is kind of, it really catches a recruiter's attention and say, okay, what does this mean? And it could sometime really make you feel that, okay, I really have to find literal meaning and go back to dictionary and see what does it mean. So using such words, and then it also has a lot of uh, there's lack of personalization, like because AI provides a very it struggles to give you a genuinely personalized message, right? So it can be very generic, and it can, of course, it will lack examples, real time examples, I say. So that's again a sign where we can spot that, okay, it could be from AI. There's a lot of words that are repetitive in AI. So and we as a human, we don't want to repeat, right? When we are writing, we want our cover letter or CV to be a perfect one, and we don't want to repeat. So generally we avoid repeating, and we try to use a lot of say diverse vocabularies. But in AI, you will notice there are certain words or synonyms that keeps coming up again and again differently. So that's again another, no-brainer, I would say there. Then certain paragraphs are mostly started from however, moreover, in addition, furthermore. So these are certain cues that can really tell you that, okay, uh, this is mostly AI generated. And kind of then further I would see how the CV is kind of formulated, and then further I would also see the LinkedIn profile, how it is kind of formulated and things like that. So yeah, it can be spotted, but I would say AI is here to help us, so we should all be able to use it. But my recommendation is create a personalized cover letter, create a personalized CV. However, AI can come in use to check, if there are any typos, if there are any spell checks to be done, if your cover letter is, grammatically correct. So these checks can be done through AI, and it's much faster and easier than getting it proofread by somebody, your friend or somebody else in your colleague or anybody. So then, AI can still be used, but kind of in a way, like, moderately, and because cover letter and CV still needs that personal touch, and that kind of genuine motivation that you feel, that one feels for the company or the role, that cannot be generated from AI.
Thank you. Imagine you have a perfect profile on CV and you invite this person to an interview. And it's going on, and you have this thought in your mind, oh no, this is a red flag. This is a red flag. What would these things be?
Okay. Yeah, there are few instant cues, like, it can happen. Everything looks good on paper, and then we invite the person for the interview. But things does not turn as we expect. So certain instant red flags would be like, if the person, certain things like no show or multiple reschedules without any notice. This happens quite often. So without any notice, we would understand if there is prior notice, and we try to reschedule it, but then and then delay in showing up to the interviews. And then there are instances when person or the candidate is late for the interview, but has no realization that person is late, or has no realization that he or she has to at least explain a bit as to why they were late, or because somebody is waiting, and we typically wait for around 10 minutes in every call for the person to show up. If they don't show up within 10 minutes for a duration of 30 to 40 minutes interview, then we sign out, and then we try to follow up with them.
Mhm.
But then from there, it still shows, like if the person never responds, then definitely it's like we don't reach out to the candidate again at all. And then if the person responds but then keeps on rescheduling multiple times, then it's like there is a limit. How many times can you reschedule, right? 2 to 3 times, but not beyond that. So these are certain red flags. Then, like, inappropriate appearance during the discussion, meaning we don't expect them to come in, say, well-dressed suits or something, but then basic professional appearance is very necessary. Um, things that is happening in the background of the candidate. Is it too noisy, cluttered, and also if the person is properly, having the conversation from one place, or is it like moving around, driving somewhere in middle of something. So all these can happen. All these happens quite often with certain candidates. So, and then another major red flag for us is not turning the video on. As I have said in the beginning, we live in a virtual world, so kind of really seeing the person and talking to them is very important and very crucial here. Um, because that ensures certain kind of engagement with the candidates, and then it assures that okay, you're talking to a person and things like that. So it's very important that the person has the video working and the video is on. And of course, during the interview, again, if there is a lot of lack of interest in the discussion, lack of engagement, if the candidate has like no questions at all in between, that also makes you feel that okay, there is something, I mean, the candidate is really not very keen um, on the role or something. So basically we also see how engaging the conversation is, and how interested the candidate is throughout the discussion. These are certain instant red flags, that happens in your screening, or that is like important for us to notice during the screening.
Right. What was the craziest clothing that you have seen during an interview?
uh, I remember somebody, it was for a really, really senior role, and the candidate, I was there with the candidate in that interview, for 3 different discussions that actually apparently we closed that candidate because even though personally for me it was not a great appearance, but technically the person was really suitable and everything was wonderful. So we did offer him. However, he decided not to join. That's a different story.
Mhm.
But for me, from the beginning, certain red flag was, again, that shows a little lack of interest in the role. I would say that, the person came from, um, it felt as if he came out from the bed, and it was like, senior person wearing a really,
Pajamas.
really pink t-shirt with a bit of messy hair is kind of very unnatural for me to see that a person comes to an interview like that.
Yeah. Sorry, candidates, no pink shirts anymore.
No, I mean they can, but then it comes down to the overall appearance. I'm saying the because pink shirt and then messy hair, messy background, so everything added up. But as I said, that did not hinder us from,
Mm,
kind of rejecting. We went all the way to the offer, right? Because we saw some potential in the candidate. So but that's basic tendency that we expect that okay comes in a the right appearance, and overall appearance is
mm,
right for the interview. There are certain kind of ways that we present ourselves, right? So just
mm.
basic presentable skills is what we look for.
Maybe a final question. What happens if your best candidate refuses the offer? What you
Mhm.
do next?
Well, there are many cases when candidate does not accept the offer, or they go all the way to the final process. They take the offer but they do not accept. uh, we try to deep dive into the reason as to what made them decide that, because they seem to be interested all the way till the end, right? Because they are keen about the role, and that's why they kind of went through all the process. They invested so much time in the interview. So there is something that triggered maybe towards the end. So it could be that it possibilities could be there is difference in the salary that the person expected, or difference in the role that the candidate expected, or something, or maybe throughout the interview maybe the candidate did not feel engaged, and throughout the interview there could be possibility that candidate felt somewhere after a few levels, maybe when he's speaking to different managers, or then in the different levels maybe he or she felt that um, okay, somehow this role may not be right for me. So we try to deep dive and understand the scenario situation, what triggered them to take that decision, and we try our best to kind of involve and say that uh, or bring some resolution. Say if it is the salary, so we try to negotiate again and then kind of add on a little bit to what they're expecting, or maybe bring in some additional benefits and perks that they're that could be interesting to them, if not the salary, say joining bonus, or some equity percentage, or different ways of kind of giving something more interesting. So basically, we try to understand what is the reason, and we try to bring in some resolution. So many times, this kind of detailed discussion, further discussion with the candidate actually helps in understanding about their decision, and have helped the company to kind of look into the matter and come up to with some resolution. Uh, but certain times it's just that the candidate got another offer which is better in every term, and they just decide to go ahead with that another offer. So we just, certain situations are out of our hand, so we don't do anything. We just let it go.
I understand. Thank you for this interview. If because there will be a LinkedIn link to your profile here, what are the roles, jobs that you need to fill now
Hmm.
that are really hot, like very in demand? So people watching this might find you on LinkedIn and say, "Hey, I'm a perfect candidate."
Mm,
Can you
yeah.
discuss that?
Generally, these software development roles, like are kind of hot cake here or within Europe. So we have a lot of requirements for roles like full stack,
Mm-hmm.
especially full stack guys are a lot in demand, and then guys from gaming industries are in a lot of demand. So roles which are into development, tech stacks can be different for different companies, but generally these JavaScript, Java based full stack engineers are always in high demand, and then also professionals from the gaming industries are kind of high in demand. So at the moment, or at least since last 1 year, these are the certain roles that we are heavily working on and kind of always on lookout for good talents and matching candidates.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you for the questions, very interesting questions, and I hope I have answered at least to some extent in a way that is kind of convincing and reasonable for the other side of the world to understand what it means to be in recruitment and what are the challenges that we come across every day.